ៀបហ៊ានខ្ញុំខ្មែរខ្ញុំមិនសូវឆ្កែទេនិយាយធម្មតាប៉ុន្តែនិយាយជា presentation ខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយជាអង់គ្លេស so សូមអភ័យទោសព្រោះខ្ញុំនិយាយជាអង់គ្លេស Thank you for coming here today. I know that every single one in this room, Khmer and non-Khmer, care about what happens in Cambodia. That's why we are here. You may ask, why this topic, child prostitution, HIV, AIDS in Cambodia, why I chose this topic. When we can talk about democracy, rule of law, and human rights in Cambodia. I think it goes hand in hand. Or topics and discussions on what we can do to help build and restore Cambodia to what it was once before, a peaceful, prosperous, and a great Khmer Empire. Actually, this presentation is not going to take 45 minutes like it is on the agenda. I actually would like to say a little bit and hope that we all can generate a discussion, questions and answers, because that's more important. I don't claim to be an expert in this area. I am here to just share information. Kiara, my friend here, have done a lot of research on that, so I can't take all the credit for it. We have worked hard in gathering information on the internet, newspapers, and things like that, which we all have access to, whether in school or at home. And I encourage that all of you do that. If you care about Cambodia, you have to be up to date on what's going on. Like Dr. Tit says, things you can say that Cambodia is happening in this way, but in the next day it's different. Things have changed so fast. However, even though I don't claim to be an expert, I'm just like all of you who are just gathering information. I have made a copy, we have made a copy for the Oregon chapter, and I've given that to Atara, and you can look it over, so that what I'm saying is not coming from me, it came from somewhere. So you need to read this yourself and see it in your own eyes. I'm glad you showed the video, which gives a feeling of there's children in there. It made me, I became emotional, and I realized because I care what happens to them. I'm living a life that is good, I'm doing well, I don't fear for my life every day. I don't need to think about food the next day. And to see children, adults, children don't know anything, so I focus on children because they don't know anything, but they suffer. Child prostitution, HIV, AIDS in Cambodia is just one topic that we have done research on. It's actually a lot of topics, but we chose to pick this one because I think it hits everybody's heart. It certainly hit mine. Child prostitution, the spread of HIV and AIDS in Cambodia, are symptoms of the absence or lack of democracy, the absence or lack of rule of law, and the absence or lack of respect for human rights in Cambodia. Obviously, there are factors for why there is child prostitution. Factors as poverty, breakdown in the family structure, the morality structure in Cambodia. Factors as an uncontrolled booming of tourism. And corruption in Cambodia. Cambodian children, our children, are being sold, exploited, and killed every day for sex and money. I'm sure, I hope most of you have some information or have heard about this. If you haven't, I hope that today you are made aware of it, and hopefully you can get more information and and to be more aware of it, because this is about our children. These children are Cambodia's future. If we do not stop the selling, raping, mutilation, and killing of our children, both girls and boys, there will be no future Cambodian. There will be no future Cambodian race. At this point in history, Cambodia has the highest rate of HIV. And the spread of AIDS disease in the entire world. If you have done your research, if you have read some of the things that are out there, in Asia, it is now Cambodia. Highest rate. It's just booming. And we have information in here so you can read about it. The spread of this disease within Cambodia is initially through brothels, which are houses of prostitution. It initially started during UNTAC, United Nations Transitional Authority in Cambodia, in 1991 to 93. And businessmen and tourism, and it never stopped then. It escalated. The rate keeps going up. In 1991, prostitutes were still women over age 18 on the average. With the spread of AIDS primarily through these men. It isn't, yes, yes. And it isn't just, we can't just blame on men who are not Khmer. According to statistics and research, local men are the ones that have a majority of exploiting the children, women and children, boys and girls. It isn't just a girl problem, it is boys and girls. There is a belief that young boys and girls will not carry the virus, the HIV/AIDS virus, and so children ranging from the age of six years old, we're all 6 years old, imagine that, to 18 are being sold or forced into prostitution. The current population estimated in Cambodia right now is 10.2 million, of whom 45% of 10.2 million are under the age of 15 years old. Just about half the population are pretty much under 18 years old. These are our future generation. Advertising found in the internet informing tourists that in Cambodia, quote and unquote, a 6-year-old is available for $3 for sex. 6-year-old. And I didn't make this up. This is all true. Our children are not just sold for sex, but are sold for their organs. Cambodian children have been exported to other countries, mainly Western countries, the United States is one of them, for the promise of freedom. But in fact, only to have their internal organs be removed for money. I have heard, for transplant, for people who need organs, there's no value in these children to other people who abuse this. What I have heard from some people who went to Cambodia this year, early this year, that they have heard and talked amongst their family in Cambodia that they have found bodies in the street or somewhere hidden in the woods where their back have been cut open, where the organs have been removed. So there are bodies out there. People are removing these organs, because these organs mean dollar value to somebody in the black market. So right now, not only are we depleting the resources of forests and all these things, gems, we're also selling the bodies and our children Our children is a commodity. It's a high supply right now, and it's in demand. Cambodia is becoming the toilet bowl of the world. It has to be flushed and cleaned up. According to researchers, next week, Tuesday, we will be talking to an American researcher who had been to Cambodia. And there is an article here. Her name is Dr. Wendy Free. She's a clinical psychologist. She's a faculty at the University of Washington. And she is one of the researchers that had gone to Cambodia and did research on AIDS, HIV, child prostitution. Her last trip was April of this year. And we will be meeting with her to get more information about this, because I think we all need to keep up to date about what's going on. This isn't her, it shouldn't be their problem, it is our problem. What does this all mean? Actually, I wanted to say, according to her, according to Dr. Wendy Freed and her researchers, her co-workers, Cambodia is like Thailand 20 years ago in prostitution. The reason Cambodia and Vietnam is getting the rate of prostitution is because Thailand's laws are very strict right now, based on the pressure of the international and humanitarian organizations to curb prostitution in Thailand. So where does it go? It just moves to the neighboring country, it just moves across the border to Cambodia. What does this all mean? It means we don't need another genocide, another Pol Pot, or guns, or missiles, or bombs to wipe out the population. If not stopped, the disease will eventually kill and destroy the entire Khmer race. We may be one day listed as a human race facing extinction. We need to act now, not tomorrow, not the next day. Because each day, our people are dying. We all need to unite and form a united front, regardless of your party affiliation, to help build and restore Cambodia in achieving democracy, rule of law, and respect for human rights. We need to appeal to our fellow Cambodians. I am appealing to you. We are appealing to all of you right now. The United States government, the United Nations, and the international community to help bring and restore peace and democracy again in Cambodia. The Americans are already telling us. We've also visited Washington, D.C. for the convention of WCCPD. The Americans there, the experts, are telling us that we need that what we need to do, we all need to form a united coalition of a democratic movement now. These were the things that were told to us, that we must have a coalition of all different party affiliation where there's a democratic movement for freedom, for peace, for a democratic Cambodia. That is the only way we can get through this before it is too late. Let us set aside our differences and focus on our common feelings of compassion and love for Cambodia. The election in Cambodia is in May 98, I believe. Is that right? Hopefully. We don't have much time to take action. We have 6 months. According to Jeff Krause, one of the experts in of the Democratic Movement, and National Democratic Institute. He said, if you don't do something within 6 months, if you